after the Vietnam War, there was a big crisis in Asia with Vietnam and Cambodia and Laos and a bunch of those other countries there, and there was a lot of refugees that would come from those countries to the United States for a better life, which go figure we're in that country for the better life. So my mom got involved with a group that was helping out a bunch of Cambodian refugees. And so she came to us kids. I have 3 brothers, and I'm not sure what year it would have been. It would have been late 70s, really early 80s maybe. And she said, "Hey," she said, these kids have nothing. They just came here with clothes on their back. How about you guys round up some of your extra toys and give your extra toys?" So we did, and she rounded up extra hand-me-down clothes and all sorts of stuff. Of course, I was kind of big, so my clothes probably didn't fit too many of the kids from Asia. But so I think back to that time, and then other times just helping out with different groups when my mom got us involved in things, and that's kind of how I got started with missions and stuff. And we didn't consider it missions back then. We just kind of considered it helping someone out that needed help. And then my parents got divorced at one point, and we lived with my mom for a few years. Well, then she took a job working for a group that's called Wycliffe Bible Translators, and they had an office in Lancaster, and she worked at their office there in Lancaster. And they were building an apartment, 2 apartment buildings. Wycliffe Bible Translators were real near to this office, and they were going to be for missionaries when they were home from being the mission field wherever, for a place for them to live, not necessarily permanently, but a year, 6 months, 2 years if they had to be, whatever kind of thing. And so we actually helped work on those, myself and my younger brother. And I think I was probably 14 and he was like 11 at the time. And we actually helped do construction on these apartment buildings that they were building for these missionaries and stuff. And then we actually ended up getting able to use one of the bigger ones for a period of time, because we were looking for a place to live. And so we moved into one of the bigger ones for a period of time, and then we helped work on the second one when the first one got done totally, and then we helped work on the second one for a while. And then I have an aunt and uncle that were missionaries. Well, they still are, but they're retired now. But they spent a lot of years all over the world, but Ecuador, Bolivia, and Peru for quite a long time. Well, yeah, then they were in the Congo and in Kenya for quite a long time. And looks like
is that Dan? I don't think so.
I don't think that was Dan.
I wasn't sure.
And so, but while they were in Peru, my one older brother Mike got the opportunity to go and spend a month or so with them in Peru. And then 2 years later, I got the same opportunity to go to Peru. And so I spent almost 2 months, like basically the whole summer, I spent with them in Peru. And that was a really, if you've never been to a third world country, it kind of changes the way you look at things at home. But we flew into Lima from it's the capital of Peru. It's on the Pacific Ocean coast on the west coast, and you leave the airport, and there's a dump right outside the airport, like a huge, like a landfill, like you go out to Cumberland County landfill, and people live there, and they build huts, whatever you want to call them, out of anything they find in the dump, and that's where they find everything they need is in this dump. And so then we went to where we were staying in the city and stayed there for a while, for about a week and a half. And then my aunt and uncle actually worked at a center out in the jungle at the headwaters of the Amazon. It's called Lake Yurinacocha, Pucallpa, Peru. If you look at a map, you can see Pucallpa on the map. But they had a house out there, and that's where we stayed. And while I was there, I got to know some other missionary kids that were there with their families. And then we also got to know some Peruvian kids and spent time with them. And looks like Gus. It might be Gus. It might be
Amy's husband.
Amy's husband.
Oh yeah, I think that might be.
Kind of looked like him when he
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. But so I helped my uncle. My uncle was the chief of avionics, which is airplane electronics, and they have a lot of little planes that they fly, missionaries from that area out to further areas in the jungle. And some of them have floats on them instead of wheels. They land on the lake, and some of them have wheels and stuff. But so I helped him. I worked on some things with the airplanes. They had to strip some down to be repainted. I helped do that. And they have a line to get the planes from the hangar to the lake. Is like probably from here to the road, and it's this concrete slope that they have that goes down, and they have a tractor, and the planes that have the floats on them go onto this little trailer thing, and then they go down to the lake and back them into the water, and then they come off of there so that they can take off on the water. Well, the line, they had a line on that, so they knew where to back down, and the line was gone, so I had to repaint that line, and it was like this weather when I was there. And very, very hot, very, very humid, and I painted yellow paint line about a foot wide from here down that road in this concrete so that they would be able to tell where to get in and out of the water or whatever for it, and then help paint the hangar. They have pictures of me up on a lift like half as high as the barn in this little basket thing, painting the side of the hangar and stuff for them. But so that was a very interesting experience. We did get to spend some time in an orphanage while we were there and meet with some kids and stuff. And then ever since then, basically, I've been involved in some sort of mission work. And I don't think it's necessarily you have to go away, you have to go overseas. I mean, you can do mission stuff here. I mean, we're going to try something here in a couple weeks to do some local stuff. I don't think it's going to happen in a couple weeks. It's going to end up probably happening in the fall more so, because most everybody we've contacted doesn't need anything right now. But I was involved with a group here at one time that stayed here before Amy Morano's church bought this property. They used to stay here, and they'd do a week-long thing, and they'd actually stay here the whole time. There's showers in their bathrooms if you didn't notice, but they'd camp out here for the week and then go around the surrounding areas and work on houses, paint sheds, fix fences, pull weeds, fix porch roofs. Just little things to do. And I mean, there's lots and lots of things you can do locally, and you don't have to call it mission work. You can call it whatever you want to call it. Just call it being helpful. And then jumpstart to closer to now, we when the earthquake and everything happened in Haiti, we were watching on the news one Sunday morning, and Luke was what, 10?
Not even.
Yeah, I think Luke was about 10. And we were watching it, and he said, I want to go to Haiti and I want to help those people. And I had him involved with the group that was out here when we did this, and he was way younger than all the rest of the kids that were here. But he said, I want to go help those people. I said, well, you're not old enough, or you're not big enough to go to Haiti, buddy, sorry. So with Mel's help, more so than mine, but Ella and Luke did a book sale, where they got people to donate new and used books, and then had a sale, and they raised what, $700 is what I think it ended up being.
You were in the newspaper.
And
You were in the newspaper.
they had the 15 seconds of fame in the newspaper, but
But what we did was, there's a group called Awaken Haiti that's affiliated with what is now the Meeting House Church, and we were in touch with them that they were going to get the money that the kids raised, and
the group already had a program
Yes,
in Haiti prior to the earthquake happening, because Haiti has been in turmoil
decades.
forever basically, and so they already had people on the ground in Haiti prior to the earthquake and stuff.
So we were going to use the money and buy supplies for them, for the orphanage, for the school that they had, and all that. And when we talked with Jeff, and what's his wife's name? I can't think of it right now. But anyhow, she said the money would be better spent there, so that the money would go back into the Haitian economic and help all down there, and that they would buy supplies for the kids at school. And that was really cool. I mean, even though Luke and Ella were too young to actually leave the country and go on a trip, they were still able to help in some way.
So then fast forward from that, a couple years later, most of you guys know Todd and Julie Lindsay. from church, but they got involved with another group called Global Partners for Peace and Development, and they had teams going to Haiti and India at the time, and Todd and Julie had gone down one year and came back and just talked about going, and they decided they were going back the next year, and so we got involved with that trip, and Luke and I were able to go. Well, Luke was on board to go way before anybody was on board to go, and so I said, well, he can't go by himself, and so and then also Kevin Cadigan and his wife Sandy and
Sean.
I was thinking Bubby, but Sean, their son Sean. So Sandy and Sean went, and Luke and I and Julie and Todd and their kids all went to Haiti, and that was a whole nother experience. We worked in the orphanage, and they don't have grass there at the orphanage. They play ball on pavers. Like if you have a patio and they put down them little concrete pavers, and so we laid pavers one day for, I don't know, 8, 10 hours, no, not that long, probably 6 or 8 hours in this kind of weather, in this big open courtyard at this orphanage. And things are so bad in Haiti though that everything has walls. Like where the orphanage is has big walls and a big solid gate so nobody can get in that doesn't need to be in and stuff. And so it's kind of it's third world, but they're constantly like turmoil, civil war almost kind of thing going on there. So we did that one day, and then we spent 2 days. They were building homes. They were building homes for some widows and some other families there and stuff. And these homes are, I don't see a shed. Well, yeah, there's a shed. That little brown shed up there behind that house. That's all the bigger these homes they were building for these, because people were living in literally plywood and cardboard and everything else after the earthquake. And then before we even went, then there was a flood too. And so then they had the aftermath from the earthquake and then the aftermath from the flood. And just, they had the Haitian guys laying the block, but we were carrying the block for the Haitian guys and helping mix mortar and stuff for them. And where the block were from where the building was probably here to there, but it was down this slope, and there was a path about this wide to walk down this slope. And I don't have any pictures to show you right now, but someday I'll find some pictures to show you guys. But I forget what they called this area.
The ravine.
No, we weren't in the ravine. This was a different area. But there's houses on top of houses, and it's just slopes, steep slopes going up. And at the bottom of the slope is like this little run, and everybody's sewer and everybody's trash and everything runs down to this run. But they just kept building houses up the slope kind of thing to make new houses. And when they build in Haiti, they build walls and they put rebar inside to help reinforce the walls. Rebar is just a steel reinforcing thing. But they let the rebar run wild, like from the first floor to the second floor up through the wall. So if they ever get enough money to build a second floor, then they already have support tied into the first floor. And so when we're walking down here, down over the bank below us, like 20 feet is buildings with rebar. So if we fall off that slope, we're falling down into that rebar and everything else. But there's kids her size, and they're so undernourished and malnourished there in Haiti that a kid her size would be 6 or 7 years old. They don't get very big very quick, and they're running around kicking soccer ball in bare feet on this dirt, rocks, whatever. While we're carrying block, they're going by us on this little tiny path, and then they're trying to carry block, and the little kids got block both hands. They just wanted to help. They wanted something to do. They wanted to be helpful. So part of the trip there that we were there was also, we did construction. There was a group that did medical and dental, and then there was a group that went to another place that was called the Ravine. I didn't get to. I got to go to the Ravine one day just to see it, but I didn't get to go and help. But they take food and things down there to people at the Ravine. The Ravine's an area that's even worse than the area that we were helping build in. That's basically just, they live wherever they can live, and no food, no anything. So that was an interesting part of the trip. And then we got to go to an orphanage and help with an orphanage one day too. And when we were out at the orphanage, we got to meet Jeff Denlinger, who we dealt with the Awaken Haiti stuff a couple years prior. He came to visit us while we were out there, so that was kind of neat to see him. We wanted to go to their orphanage, but we didn't get a chance to go while we were there. We just couldn't coordinate everything. But so that trip was very. I mean, I think Luke got a realization a little bit of what other parts of the world are like, and that we don't all have TVs and nice houses to go to, and running water and electricity. They did have electricity. It was weird. There was electricity, like, to people that could afford electricity, but the people that couldn't afford electricity would climb the poles themselves, find whatever scrap wire they could find anywhere, and they tie into the electric themselves, which is like super dangerous, to power whatever they could power. Almost everybody, that was the other thing that was very strange, like almost everybody there, even the poorest of people, had cell phones. Like, they gave away free cell phones for some reason. And so they needed power to charge their cell phones up. So they'd steal power off these poles to run to their little plywood shack and to charge their cell phones up. It was different. It was definitely different. There was a big military presence there the whole time we were there, and police presence, and since then there's been tons and tons of turmoil too. But there's still a group. The girl that we met that was there, Amber, she actually started an orphanage on her own there, basically with the group that we went.
It's boys.
That's called the Rev Home, and it's all boys. It's an all boys orphanage or whatever. And so we corresponded with the girl from down there at one time too, and helped for a little while with that. And then jump ahead from there. Mel can go into Redbird, I guess. I'll let Mel do the Redbird part.
So unlike John, I didn't grow up going and doing mission work. My dad believed that people do for themselves, and that sounds kind of harsh, but I had the heart and desire to help people. So when our youth group decided that we were going to Redbird, no idea what you're going to see. But super excited just to get out of your little small po-funk town and be able to go and help people. So the first year when I was there, made tons and tons of friends, and I laugh because, like, I didn't know Sylvester, but you knew of Sylvester, and so now knowing Sylvester and that he's there and his wife works there, and they have a heart for that area. And I mean, you guys know that we absolutely love down there and everything. But when I went years after that, I probably went for the wrong reasons. I went to go see my friends. I wasn't thinking about the work. I mean, granted, the work was great, but I can't tell you what we did because I looked at it more socially. That was all before internet and before cell phones and everything. So, I had friends and pen pals. They ended up being pen pals. But now that I look back at it, it was something that really just grabbed hold of my heart and said, okay, this is what I want to do. And when I was there, it was, I want to take my family there. And we did that. I want to take a group of kids there, and we've done that. And so now it's like, okay, what's next? We're just going to keep going. And with this year, that really was like a blow. I was so excited to be able to take you your first year. Danny's going to get to go sometime soon. But like, we just have such an excitement and love to help those people that I want everybody to know about Redbird. But at the same time, that's not here, and being that we are the co-chair of the missions committee now, we are just really pushing to get more people involved. And while going to Peru and to Haiti and even Redbird is great because you can help people that truly need help, there are people around here. So what we've started, and this goes in conjunction with you guys because we have an amazing group of adult leaders at Otterbein that have stepped up and agreed to help work right alongside with us, which I think is great because not only can they mentor to you, but you guys can teach them. And the time that I spend with you guys, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that at their age. I used to fight with my youth leaders about how faithful God will be. I was always the one who asked, so you mean to tell me if I can't afford to pay my phone bill, God's going to pay my phone bill? And that's a tough answer, but we know that not that it'll happen in that easy sense, but God provides in one way or another. Go get your no. But what we're doing around here is we have reached out to quite a few people, older people, at Otterbein to do some. We're not calling it mission work. We're calling it a service project. And what is great is that while we've reached out to people and they don't necessarily need help right now, we keep hearing, in the fall, I'd like you to come and do this. When temperatures are cooler, I'd like you to come do this. Next year, I want you to help do this. And they are just so excited to have you guys come. And, I think even just spending time with people is a mission in itself. Just listening. And while painting a shed, repairing a roof, building a wheelchair ramp, like all of that work is great, but there's other basic needs of getting someone to and from a doctor's appointment. And I know you guys can't do that, but writing a letter, the Otter Pals thing that we're doing is in itself a mission. And so we need to take the word mission and I think pull it in, because so many times you think of going and just doing all of this stuff when there is things to do here. So if you guys have ideas, obviously come to us, share them with Megan, but missions can be like this, but missions can also be very small and just wonderful. So
and there's tons of opportunities. Beyond our youth group, beyond our church. Don't feel like you have to be a part of everything that we're doing or whatever. There's other opportunities with other churches. If somebody comes to one of us with something and we can't fulfill it, there might be somewhere another group that's doing something. CEFC has tons of opportunities. I think Greg Hench does some things too, and has opportunities. There's always local opportunities. And one thing you can do now, especially with everything that's going on, is don't stop donating or whatever to our church, but you can also save a little extra and send some money to Redbird, or send some money to one of the other missionaries that our church sponsors, or another group. Send some money to Project Share, or send some money to Carlisle Cares, any of that stuff, or say, hey, let's do a volunteer night, and go do a volunteer night. We'll try to put together a volunteer night at one of the local ones. We can work on something and do something else, closer to home. Years ago when Sean was here, they did Pittsburgh Project. I think a couple of you kids, well, no, I guess maybe not, were involved with when they went to York, or they went to Harrisburg, with Salt and Light at all, or with what was the other one? Group
Yeah.
was the other one. But
Yeah.
but there's other things to do. This year is just throwing everything off. Eventually, things should get back to a little bit more of a normal kind of year, and things will be able to happen again. But there is stuff that can still be done even while this is all going on. Say an extra prayer for these groups, because they're struggling. Redbird, we know for a fact Redbird is struggling. A lot of the groups, what they did was they sent in their registration fees, and they're not going, and so they had Redbird just keep the registration fees so that they could use that to help in the community themselves, and to help keep feeding people in the community and stuff. And there's just tons of opportunities like that. So